Hey, I'm back with another Gren Twigs video. This one is going to be about purity in Gren, what it means, why it can be beneficial. And there's two concepts that I'm going to be talking about. This might be a series of videos, but the two concepts are going to be immutability and pure functions. I'm going to start with immutability. So in Gren, values are immutable, meaning they can't be changed. Once a value is set, that's it. It cannot be changed. You can't set it to something new, which is quite different from what you might be used to in JavaScript. So I'm going to actually show you in the JavaScript console here an example of what I mean by creating a person object that's going to have a first name and a last name. Now, my person, first name, Justin, I can change that if I want to, right? I can, you are now Hot Dog Blake. Which seems fine and familiar and probably even a good thing. However, the implication of that, to show the implication of that, let me make a new function called full name. It takes a person and it does this. It's not last name, it's L name, because I wanted to make things shorter, which in the end made things take longer. All right, let's see if that works. Okay, nope, I forgot to return because I am writing this as if I was writing Gren. Apologies if that keeps happening. There we go, Hot Dog Blake. Now, let's get silly. Let's get real silly and do something like this. Let's say inside my full name function, I do that. Now when I call person, I call it again with the same person, what I think is the same person, and it's changed again. It just keeps getting different. This is, it seems silly. Of course, you would never do this. You would never write code like this. However, this is just a one-line function in a very small object. But imagine you're working with a much larger object, some user object that has 1,000 attributes, and you're working inside of a function that's, 700, 800 lines long. You can't be sure that the things inside that function aren't changing things that you don't expect. You can never really be sure, not without, line by line looking through the code, that the function you're calling is not changing something. I mean, imagine if our person had, maybe full name is a getter, and we have something like get full name, and it does that silly thing we were doing. I think I wrote my code wrong. Not person, it's this. Forgive me, I don't write much JavaScript these days. So now if I do, I'm not even calling a function as far as what it looks like. And I call that attribute again, it keeps changing. You can never be sure when you're working on something that the thing you're calling is only doing the thing you expect it to. In Gren, you can. So let me switch over to the Gren REPL. Let me see, I'm not in the right place. All right, here I have my environment set up so that I have Gren available in this folder. I open the REPL. If you're curious about how I have it available here and not other places, the very first video I did showed you how I use DevBox to set up project-specific environments with all the things I need available just in that folder. Anyway, if I was going to make a person, it would be called a record. It could have a first name of Justin, a last name of Blake, Now I can get the first name, but there is no way for me to change that first name. That's going to be an error. If I was going to write a full name function, here also I can't call the parameter person because I already have something called person in scope. Gren would complain about me there too. So let's call that P. We'll just say it's the first name plus a space. Also, notice I'm using plus plus instead of plus. That's because Gren is pretty strict about the types, and plus and plus plus operate differently. Plus operates on numbers, plus plus operates on strings. If I tried to add two strings, Gren would complain and say it can only add numbers. All right, so now when I call full name person, I get that. There's no, this has two benefits. One of them is when I'm calling a function in Gren, everywhere I call full name person, as far as the compiler is concerned, as far as my code's concerned, that is the same as the string Justin Blake, because there is only one possible return value for this given value. If I wanted to make a new person, well, let me change the language I'm using. In a situation where you typically think you would want to change something, like if I had a person and I think I want to change one of the fields to a different value, in Gren, you would make a copy of that updated with with the changes that you want. So it looks like this in, so I'll say person 2 is person 1. Everything about person 1 is copied using this syntax here. I have a bar, and followed by the bar, I have everything I want to change. So I haven't changed person, I've just created a new person. And anytime I call full name with that, I'm always going to get Hot Dog Blake. There's no way for me to change person 2 so that this comes out differently. There's no way to change the internals of the full name function or write the full name function in a way that it would return something different. That starts to touch on, you take that a few steps further. What if full name was trying to pull my person from a database, and then the value of the underlying database table changes? Wouldn't that have a different result? Or what if I'm pulling something from the file system? That touches on this idea of pure functions in Gren, which I think I will have to talk about next time. So just trust me. And yeah, there's no way for me to write a function that pulls something from a database. There's no way for me to write a function that writes values to the file system, because that would break this idea of purity. How do I write a program that does anything? Well, I will talk about that in future videos. I'll see you in those videos, hopefully, if you want to watch them. Bye. I don't know how to end these.